with me if you want to live. You just don't turn it off!
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Backtrack Cinema. My name is Jason, and today's video, I'll be interviewing director Greg A. Sager and actress Shelby Handley from the latest release, Cheat, brought to us by Matchbox Pictures. Cheat was released on September 17th of this year, 2024, now streaming on a dozen or so streaming platforms. You can get it on Hoopla, Google Play, iTunes, Plex, I believe, all sorts of streaming platforms. So go check this movie out. Go check out Matchbox Pictures and everything they do over there. And be warned, we will be talking spoilers, so keep that in mind. Guys, just sit back and enjoy the show, pop some popcorn, get a drink, and enjoy my interview with Greg and Shelby. Hey, Greg. Hey, Shelby. How are you guys doing this evening?
Great.
Doing well, thanks.
Yeah, wonderful.
Well, thank you for coming on for this interview. Really enjoyed the film. I thought it was a roller coaster ride of emotions and, twists and turns, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, just a good job. I hope it's being received well. I hope people are watching it. So just wanted to get you guys on here to talk about the film for a bit. Anyways, Greg, Matchbox Pictures. What can you tell us about Matchbox Pictures?
Oh my God. We were, so basically kind of just being a bunch of friends. I think it was 2009, maybe. I went and shot at the Olympics. We've talked about, maybe getting together. We all have our corporate lives and commercial lives that we do our things in. And then we just I went to the Olympics, made pretty okay money there in 2010. And I said, I could put this in the bank, watch it just magically disappear. Or, you know what, let's make a low budget movie. And we all raised our hands and that was the start of it all. We incorporated and there were 5 movies later, here we are.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I went on your website after I was talking to Shelby through Instagram saying excited about this one. And so I went on the website and, this idea of storytelling's first, I absolutely love.
Yeah.
Because I think, it's great. That's where it starts, right? You can't have a good movie without a great story. I think something like that. I'm paraphrasing here, but on your guys' website.
Well, you can, like it could be a bad script and you can throw as much money. And that's one thing we never have is a lot of money. Like you can throw as much money as a bad script and it ain't going to make the story any better. So,
yeah, that's right. Awesome. What was the budget for this film?
I'm going to refrain from answering that because most people wouldn't believe it if we told them. Like basically, we kind of work as a co-op. So we figure, okay, here's the budget. This is what we need cash wise to do it. And then that's not including how much with Shelby, my amazing crew, all the rest of the cast. Like there's so much blood, sweat, tears, equity in it. And everybody's got a piece at the in the end of it. So if the film does well, everybody does well. It's not just So I kind of classify it as it's like a co-op. So,
Awesome.
Your house costs more.
Greg, how did the idea for the film come about? Like, what was the inspiration for it?
I think it was just the fascination with the whole infidelity thing. I think the vast majority of people has experienced it. I think more on the, and those that haven't are probably the perpetrators in it. But it's just like I just wanted to ask the question: is it ever okay to have an affair? And I've always kind of been on, like, I know there's so many different circumstances people are in. They're strangled by fear of being alone, money, whatever it is. Like it could be many reasons. So, and that was one of the things of the film. I go, okay, we gotta the main character cheats, so we got to make the audience very quickly make her likable. So that was always the tough part, and justify, and that's at the end of the day, that's kind of all I wanted people to walk away, is not just, oh, that was a movie and move on. Like kind of talk about is it ever acceptable and we've talked to many people and we get different reactions. We had a little test audience and we were getting different reactions from, but I think that's the magic of film, right? Is if you can
Yeah.
get people to talk about it afterwards rather than just walk and or come out of the theater or, after watching, what are we going to eat? Whatever it is,
Yeah.
right? So I think it's a
Yeah.
win there if you can do that with, the people that do watch it.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll get to Shelby, but I love the vulnerability she showed.
Oh, Shelby's
Um,
amazing.
yeah, like just because you're right, you had to care about this character. You had to care about her story. I think you understand why she's doing it. Maybe you not agree, but I think you understand. It's kind of like every time I watch Cujo. I mean, Dee Wallace is having an affair, but you're on her side through the whole movie, like
Yep.
in that movie as well, right? And I think you did something very similar here.
We
And
didn't
yeah,
have the advantage of a killer dog trying to get you either, though. So I think they had a little easier time for the main character sympathy, but
who would you say is the core audience for this movie?
I would say both men and women. It kind of, it's got something for the man, but I think it leans heavily towards women, because, unfortunately, they're usually on that side of the things most of the time. Not saying men don't get cheated on as well, but, and that's with Shelby's character, which is like, I wanted the audience, especially women, to sympathize with her. And that's why I let them bring, Fran, the producer. She had tons of input because I just wanted to make sure, me being a man, I wanted as much input from women as I possibly could, just, that we're serving the character right.
Now, Shelby, check me if I'm wrong here, but this was your first full feature film.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay, because I know, we go way back. When I first interviewed you with It's Me Billy, and I've been following you along with like Sledgehammer. Watched some of your old shorter films and stuff. Sisters.
Mhm.
I have to say though, this blew me away. You were just
Thank
absolutely
you.
fantastic in this. So, how was it acting in your first full feature film?
It was awesome. It was exciting and scary at the same time because going in, especially to your first feature, you kind of feel like everyone else is so much more professional than you, and you're just like showing up and not really know what to do when you arrive. So it's a lot of kind of just acting like you also know what it's like to be there and you're meant to be there, but there is kind of that pressure of, okay, I don't want to let anybody down. Like these people took a chance on me. Like Greg didn't know me before this. So really putting me in this position was in some ways a gamble for him. Like he didn't really know what he was going to get every day on set. So there is a little bit of pressure. Like I really have to not only make it look like I know what I'm doing, but like I have to really know what I'm doing and really bring my A game every day. So it was a little intimidating, which I tried not to let on, but it was really just so exciting. And it was a rather like shorter shoot for a feature. So it was like really strong out of the gate. We all worked really hard, but it was the most fun probably I've ever had on set because we were just go, go, go. There's so much like physicality to a lot. Like we did kind of all of our own stunts and all of our own work. So it was very physical as well. So it was a great set to be on. I couldn't be luckier for this to be my introduction into features. And it's exciting to have one under my belt as well. But the experience was just amazing working with these guys. Yeah.
Awesome.
Likewise.
Yeah, I mean, I know when I saw you and It's Me Billy, you had charisma and stuff like that, but this one I just saw that full featured film. Like got to see more of you. You know what I mean? And there's certain parts in this movie where just that the way you walk, you have that it was charisma. It's just okay, she has presence here. There's to the character and everything. So yeah, great stuff there.
Like Shelby's got that rare thing that very few people have where you put the camera on her and it just loves her. Like she doesn't have to say a word. And I think you even said this in your review. Like she doesn't have to even say a word and you can see the wheels turning, you know, she's saying so much without saying a single thing. And that's why, anytime I got a chance to just do a close up on her, it was just like that was the gold, you know.
Yeah.
Screw the dialogue, just a frame her from here to here.
Yeah, yeah, and I like how you did a lot of that with a lot of the scenes. Let the actors show what's going on in their minds. You don't need to say everything, right?
No.
So, and yeah, Shelby, that was fantastic. So, Shelby, how did the script or the character attract you to this project?
So when I first read the breakdown, I felt like there was a lot of things that I connected with about this character. I mean, off the top, right away, it's kind of like a thriller, horror, drama, and as you know, I love all those things. So just initially in terms of genre, this just kind of felt like a little bit different from all the other things I'd done before, even though it was still in the same vein of genres that I love. And then this character of Zoe, I just felt really connected to her from the get-go, which I know you want to talk about a little bit later. But I just think that characters like this, and in Greg talking about really getting a women's perspective and like making this character feel really real, situations like this, I think, can so often be easily dismissed as, right or wrong, black and white. And there's so much gray in the middle, and relationships are complicated, and it can be really hard to get in the mindset of understanding that if you already have a preconceived notion about it. So it was really interesting to me to have the chance to jump in, explore some of those things, have a bit of like a cathartic experience for me as well, but also just trying to, kind of like you were talking about before, but trying to get people on her side, or at least make them understand how complex relationships can be and that it's not just black and white. So it seemed like a really interesting opportunity to play around with all of those things.
I really like how the character, like with the weekend away, that goes, kind of vicious, but at the start of it, it's kind of like, okay, she wants to connect with her husband again. This could be, you know what I mean? And I with those complex relationships, she's not really giving up yet. Yeah, well, we'll get to that, but the atmosphere and environment on the set for both of you, what was that like?
Ooh, we run a very small crew. Like, when Shelby said it was intimidating, it's like on a good day we got 10 people. On one day somebody might have a shoot, so we got 6 people. Like, who knows? It depends on what we're shooting and all. But that makes us move fast. So we just try to keep it light, especially because the content, it's just like, unless the actor says, I don't, no joking around because of this scene or whatever, we kind of keep it as light as possible, because
Right.
some of the stuff is just, the subject matter is just a little, dark, to say the least.
Mm.
So it's just like, but a good short day for us is 10 hours. A long day is 16. But that's the constraints of a small budget. But
Yeah.
you go, you run into problems, you make it work, because you can't go, oh, let's go home and think about this and we'll figure it out. No, you gotta go. So it's a challenge, but it's the funnest time. Like, every time we become just like this instant family. Like, we, after shoots, we would sit in the parking lot or sit right here and just have a couple drinks and then decompress from the day, and then everybody goes and right back the next day doing it again. So that's kind of how we roll. But this question is probably better for Shelby, and I can take these off if you'd like.
It was horrible. No, I'm kidding. I would really second everything that Greg said. I think for as much as it can feel like it's more work sometimes because everybody has to do so many jobs, not me, but everyone else is doing so many things, you do just kind of bond instantly, and there's only so few of you, so you are connected rather instantly, which I think is really special to be on set. And a lot of these guys already have those connections, but it's a very still welcoming and open environment, and that everyone is so passionate to be there. And even when it is long days, because of that, you also want to work hard and show up, because everyone is also there to get the same job done and to give it their all. So it kind of like breeds this environment of everyone pushing each other to do their best and have more energy. And it is a really kind of vibrant atmosphere, even though the subject matter is, yeah, not so vibrant. It's more dark, but
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's sad when
absolutely.
it's over. It
it
genuinely is
is.
sad when it's over.
Well,
I
it's
cried
kind of
more
like
than when I
it's
left.
all it's almost like working. I've been working for the same company for like 25 years,
Mm,
so I would imagine every set is like you bond as a family, and then it's over, and it's kind of like I don't know, maybe some separation anxiety. I do not know, but um,
It's
yeah,
intense.
but it feels like by watching when I was watching this, I was feeling like there is a lot of heart and soul that was
mhm.
put into
Thank
this
you.
movie. You can just tell. I don't know if it's just me, but was the opening of this film inspired by Psycho? Because I got a huge uh
No, I don't think so. So that's like that whole idea just kind of came to me, and it all revolved around that reflection of Zoe and Adam in the camera lens. Because I thought, from a marketing point of view, and there was a poster made of it. It's not the main poster, but I just that image was kind of when I think about the stuff and I'm writing it. I'm writing things that I know I can get, I know I can do
mm,
without a lot of hassle. Like that's the problems with independent filmmaking. You don't write rain, you don't write explosions, so you try to pick these moments that, okay, this will look good in the trailer, or this look good in the for a poster. And it was kind of that whole opening scene up until Shelby and Adam collapsed on the bed. Like that was just all kind of based around that reflection of them, basically making love. And then then the big conversation happens, which is, it's one of my favorite parts of the film, is the chemistry between Shelby and Rodrigo was just, it was dynamite. Like it was just like when we shot that, I'm just going, yes. And those scenes make me so uncomfortable. Like they're the hardest things to shoot.
I would
But
imagine so.
yeah, like no, I hate them. But
Yeah,
there's something beautiful about that, like that whole scene.
but I believe that. I believe that, it was I heard a director once say, the film's made in the editing room, but the actors give you the reality. Rye Barrett too. Like
Mhm.
I believe that they were a husband and wife with serious like problems.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I believe that. Like, and that's what I want to when I come to a film. I want to believe that these are the characters that are being portrayed, right? But yeah, I got it just that huge where Marion Crane and John I forget the actor's name, but they're on the bed and they're having that long conversation, just like they have a long conversation and everything like that. So I get that's just me, I guess.
No, it like that's the one thing you find when you're writing and then you execute, is you don't realize movies plant stuff in your head. Like it just does. And it's in your subconscious, and sometimes you write it, and like I've had people bring stuff up, and well, maybe, I don't know, like it wasn't intentional, but that's how movies are supposed to affect you, right? The ones you love. It's just like I went back to collecting like physical media because I got tired of searching for things, because
Right?
of the ones that I go to time and time again,
Mm,
and yeah, they like you're a product of your experiences. Everybody is. So it's just
yeah.
like, I do write and make movies that I would want to see. That's kind of it. And I'm a big Brian De Palma fan. That's my informative years, is the 80s, Body
Yeah.
Double. Like there's just that whole twist and turn kind of thing that I loved, and that's what I tend to lean towards.
Shelby, preparation. What were your methods or preparation for this role?
Yeah, a lot of the beginning preparation, like I have kind of a general routine that I like to run down when I'm getting into character, but a huge part of that I think is important is including the director to make sure that you're on the same page and that you're not going down. You're putting all this work into all these thoughts and ideas that don't align with the ultimate vision of the character and of the plot. Um, so working really closely with Greg and making sure that I understand how Zoe's feeling in all of those moments, or at least that my understanding is kind of on the right track. If there are ever any materials from directors that are like inspirational in terms of character, I love to get those things and then take notes depending on what I'm seeing or hearing, or just little things that I can incorporate into my own performance. And then I really like to sit down with the script and like really dissect it. So on one half, I will write like what the character is thinking versus what they're saying, and then break down like, how are we saying this? And what are the little things that are happening here? Or what are some movements in my head that I'm thinking ahead? Okay, how might I turn this into, like, to really take it into my body? But I think all of that work is super important because obviously you want to be prepared when you get there on the day. But at the same time, you can only prepare so much to, you know, be like strapped in a chair and ready to go, and strapped, duct taped in a chair for hours.
Spoilers.
Sorry.
Joking.
I think it's in the trailer. So, so all of that kind of gets you there, but then really just being in the environment is so helpful to kind of get you from, you know, like 80 to 100. But that's how I like to come at it and really break the scenes down and kind of figure out like what are my motivations in the scene? What am I trying to get from other people? What is the subtext? I think subtext is something super important that not everyone really reads into when they're looking at scripts and taking on character, because there is so much that you can say that you're not saying. And sometimes it's the opposite, you know, like when we're in normal conversation, half the time you're not saying exactly what you're thinking, especially in more kind of serious conversations, and you're weighing your words. So I find all of that really fun and interesting that I can then take in the moment. And even when we're shooting, I try to have those thoughts in the moment as well. Like, what would I be thinking in this moment versus what I'm saying, instead of just, what's my line? What do I have to say next? Yeah. And that allows you to be a little more present in the moment. But that's how I like to approach character. And that's kind of on a scale how I approached Zoe as well.
Like, yeah, you've always been fantastic in anything I've seen you from, staying in character when you're not saying anything. And I see big budget studio produced movies where you can almost see them, they're thinking that they're out of character now. Now they're the actor, like you said, thinking of a line or something, where I've always found that with you, that always staying in character, and that is huge for me. Like,
And
that's something like I really like to look for.
And she can do that over and over and over again.
Crazy.
Like every nuance, like she's easy to edit, you know,
Yeah.
like we'll do a tweak of a line or something. Hopefully I let her bring what she needed to bring to it. Cause that's what I wanted. Like, that's what I really like actors doing. But it's just like, even when we did a little switch, you know, with the tone or whatever, every little mannerism she came up with in her head would repeat flawlessly, the exact same moment, the exact same time, even with, you know, the dialogue tweaks. And that's a joy for an editor. Like, you can, like, you could cut 5 takes into one 10-second scene and not know that, you know, it's even a different take. Like, it's
Amazing.
It's amazing.
Yeah, that I can imagine. Another back to you, Shelby. How do you want women to connect to this character and this performance?
Yeah, I think that part of it, and I guess this is a little bit of a spoiler.
Spoiler.
Spoiler. I think an important part of the dynamic between Zoe and Chris is this element of toxicity. I'll gloss over that with toxicity. And so I think that creates an entirely different dynamic than just two people who are drawing apart. The stakes are higher when you're in an abusive relationship of any kind. To leave, it becomes so much harder. So, and not to say that justifies the actions, but I think for anyone who's been in a relationship like that in any capacity, hopefully this to some extent just evokes like empathy and sympathy for this character and seeing something familiar, and relatability in that sense, which again is something for me that reading this character I really connected with, and I wanted to do her justice because of that and make people understand. So I think that for women who are, not that men can't be on the other side of this as well, but especially for women, I think it comes up a lot, that question in cheating in general, like, well, why didn't you just leave instead of cheat? Like, why didn't you just walk away? That is not always the most valid question in certain types of relationships. And also it's taken a line from the movie, but it's not that easy and it's not that simple. And I think it's, again, really easy to just say, well, why did you stay? You should have just left. If you were going to cheat, like, why didn't you just go be with that other person? But I think this really paints and highlights and hopefully creates more empathy for these situations, because there's so much more going on that makes it feel impossible to leave. So it's not as simple as just, oh, I can just walk away, I can just move out, this or that. There's so much more going on. And so for women especially, I hope that in some senses, even though obviously there's like a dip in the middle, Zoe is so resilient and she's such a fighter that I hope that it is empowering for women to feel, A, that they're not alone in situations like this, and to see dynamics on screen in whatever capacity that they can relate to. I know for me is always something that I love to connect with, but then also kind of getting a little bit more of that kind of that fighter mentality. I also think the other part of that is that in horror movies, there's not a lot of fighting back, or when women do tend to fight back, the final girls aren't always the smartest all the time, or I am always screaming at the TV in horror movies. Keep hitting him until he's dead, and I think that Zoe is just such a fighter that I love that she is always, for the most part, like doing the things that I would be yelling at the TV for her to do.
Yeah.
So I hope that kind of brings in elements for women to support, even if they don't ultimately like support the initial decision that the movie is based around. They can really connect to her character still.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I'd like to talk about one scene, and it is spoilers to my audience out there. So you know what? You could stop, go watch the movie, rent it, please, buy it, please. Come back and watch this, because this interview, I really wanted to talk about this because I saw this scene in two different lights, and then I saw the movie twice, and it was a completely different dynamic when I watched it once I knew the reveals.
Mm-hmm.
And that is where your husband goes for the throat here. Now, I just like there's that point, Shelby, where you look at him for a kiss, and it's so nuanced, it's really subtle. So you got two different characters here who are in two different mindsets. One, she's trying to connect with him, and he's in his own world, and goes grabs your throat and stuff like that. And even my wife was like, just like, her eyes were glued to the screen when she was watching that. It was just the nuances of this scene, and then what he does to your character and everything. And it was just afterwards, when the scene is finished, my wife's like, dude, like, she was just like yelling.
That's what we.
She's
That's
like,
what we wanted.
Slaps her on the butt and says, I'm gonna go get my phone. I forgot my phone. Like, so no. And my wife was like,
Yeah.
dude. But I just really liked what you did, Shelby, with the put the blanket over you, roll over. Greg's got you in that right at bed level, showing and you didn't have to say anything. You know what I mean? And I just and the way it plays out the second time you watch it, I was like, oh, he wasn't just being aggressive, he was punishing her.
Yeah.
That's why I saw it the second time. I go, oh. So when I saw that scene again, I was like, man,
That was the point of the scene.
Brilliant writing. Brilliant. So I
That was
did
we were
interpret
hoping.
her.
that's what we were hoping that the audience would get. Like, just is that kind of that little red herring, you know? Does he know? Is this why he's doing that? Does he
Yeah.
actually know? So, and that's, you know, wherever, because that was the hardest scene to shoot. We actually, spoiler, like behind the scenes spoiler, we shot that twice because we had to get that right. That scene, as tormenting as that was to shoot,
I bet.
that had to be right. And the first time we shot it, it wasn't. It was just, it just didn't have that feel that it can now conveys, you know. And I think that was, we reshot that 8 months later.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
After the
Wow.
kind of the first cut was done, and it wasn't working. So we knew we had a bunch of other pickups to do. So we did those, and we redid that whole scene just because it's an important scene. Like, it's you know, it's not meant to be
Oh,
gratuitous. It's not meant to be anything. It's that you know, moment that, you know, for the audience. Okay, does Chris, her husband, know? And this is why he's doing it, or is he just doing it because he's an asshole?
yeah.
And that's kind of the nutshell what the whole Chris character is. And discussions I had with Rye is, you know, he feels that Zoe is no more different than his car. It's his property,
Mhm.
Yes,
and if
exactly. Yeah.
somebody, you know, touches his property, there's going to be hell to pay. And that's kind of how we handled that. And just that still gives me shivers, you know, just
Oh,
when
it
it's on
was
that close up, and her
yeah.
face says so much, you know.
Yeah. I just love the way you shot it and everything like that, and especially when Shelby's actually locks eyes with him, is trying to connect to her husband. Her space in her head is
Mhm.
different than his, clearly in this moment, and I just like that. I think a couple, like even a couple who's just trying to connect together, I think would under like other than like you could separate yourself from the Chris character and say, and the way she, you know, they're in this love making thing, and then Shelby looks at him and wants a kiss, kind of, and he responds, but obviously it gets
Yeah.
dark, and yeah, and just how nonchalant he was. I love hearing my wife's reactions when she watched this, because that was the
I
second time
love
I
that your
watched
wife
it,
has reactions.
right? And then
Yeah.
especially at the end of the movie when they're arguing, my wife's just like, "Get over it, dude. She cheated on you." It was pretty funny. It's
It's
pretty funny to see
wonderful.
her reactions.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, we
excellent,
just
guys.
took a
Excellent.
normal situation and put it to the extremes. Like,
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah.
this isn't the way most things going to play out, like the whole scenario. But so we just took a common situation and just said, how far can we take this? You know, what happens if,
Yeah.
you know, so and so's, you know, batshit crazy? You know, so oops. But
Yeah.
that's it. But that's kind of how we approach the whole thing, you know. So
Awesome. Was there a scene you liked directing the most and a scene you liked acting the most in?
Shelby, you go ahead.
Oh, I have to go first. I think initially my response to that would probably be the scenes that we did in the chair. The most fun scenes to shoot truly were all like getting to run around the warehouse. I loved that. I was sore for like 3 weeks afterwards, but it was, and I pulled my hamstrings, but it was so much fun. But I think because we shot that first, before some of the more emotional scenes later, I had a couple moments that I just felt really proud of myself for, how connected in the moment to the emotions I was able to get, which sounds like a dumb thing to say because, like, as an actor, that's your job. But you know, in those really high intensity emotional moments, you're not always, you know, like sobbing, crying, shaking, like in your actual body. Especially with movie magic, there's so many ways around that. And sometimes it can be really hard to just actually get there and let yourself be in that moment. Um, and I hadn't had a lot of opportunity in other films to really like fully explore that to the same extent. And I felt really proud in the moment of just being able to do it over and over again. And also then just being, you know, strapped in the chair for 8 hours. It was fun. And that was a really fun day. And that was some of the earliest stuff that we did too. So I think those scenes were probably some of my favorite to shoot.
Yeah, it never looked really clunky. It looked like you really fell over. And I remember saying to my wife, that looks like she did that. That was her. You could just tell.
It was
Like
close. We
sometimes,
dropped her. We did drop her.
yeah, what was something like you couldn't before the shoot, you couldn't wait to direct. You're like, I just can't wait to direct this scene.
Oh, I don't know. Like the surprise one was the Zoe and Adam thing in the opening of the film. All the warehouse stuff was fun. I don't like directing the actiony stuff because I'm always worried about that because it's really time consuming in that. But Jay, who plays the detective, he was also our stunt coordinator because he's
Oh, cool.
he does Muay Thai and everything. So we would take our time and figure it out. What's the camera angle? What's to do it? That was the hardest stuff. Like, but all the stuff in the chair, like I look at it as a whole, the whole thing. Like that's just the whole experience of this. This is, by far, I think, and I've had great experiences in every film I've done, but this one, I'm very proud of. We kind of stepped out. We were in the horror world for so long, and that's not what I love good horror, love doing horror, but it was just like to be able to step out, and have characters, and scenes that are just dialogue scenes is so nice, and always, just trying to make it interesting and moving the story forward. And that's, I loved it all, like every minute of it.
Okay. Was there any difficulties with any scenes? Like maybe a technical difficulty or just, this, well, I guess you already elaborated, we had to reshoot one scene.
It's the whole low budget thing, right? We have like Gary, our DOP, he got COVID partway through.
Oh,
yeah. So like so there's a couple scenes that, but this is the great thing about our crew. Everybody could step up, right? So there's a couple times that, I think for 3 days, poor Gary was, sicker than a dog. And we had a small crew and we had meetings about COVID and all this. If somebody gets it, we isolate that person and we got to keep going. We got to keep going no matter what. So Mike, stepped up, he kind of became de facto DP for 3 days on a couple scenes. And we just I was shooting. So it was just like, you got to do what you got to do on these, lower budget independent things. Cause you don't carry insurance to stop like that. You carry the basic insurance. So it's just like there's, pre-production is so important, especially on the low budget stuff, that you do as much as you can because you can think about everything that's going to happen and there's going to still be stuff that gets thrown at you that you got to deal with on the day. So eliminate as much as you can and then just go because you can't stop. You cannot stop. You have 16 days to shoot and that's it.
Man.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Incredible. Yeah. Question for you, Shelby. Is the character of Zoe anything like you?
I would say that she is. And I think that's part of what enticed me about her in the first place. As much as I also love to play characters that are nothing like me, as I said, I just felt really connected with her. Even down to the fact that she works in a gallery. So presumably she's an art history major and so am I. So I kind of felt like she was written for me. And so I think that we have a lot in common and a lot of shared experience to obviously very different extents and different dynamics. But I do feel that I have a strong kinship with her. And I feel like that also allowed me to bring a lot of kind of personal experience and emotions to her that I maybe would have had to outsource to try to connect to otherwise had I not had those strong links to her initially.
Yeah, I really like how she kicks ass at the end.
Me too.
In the final minutes. And how she's portrayed as being pretty mousy by other people. And the way she just, just grabs a beer at the end, sits down. It's like, I just really like that ending. I thought it was a really great cap off to this thing. Shelby, what do you love and hate about the character? If you hate anything about the character, or dislike.
Don't. I love that she is so like I feel like Zoe had such an interesting, colorful life before she met Chris, and probably when she met Chris and they first were together. And it's not until, you know, the relationship kind of goes on and elements of personality come out, especially after you get married and there's that locked in-ness. It's a word now.
Yep.
But there is kind of that commitment, I guess, and that ownership, like you were talking about in marriage, in a ring, in commitment. So I think that I love all the little moments where you get to see little things about her. And when she is with Adam, even though she's dealing with this trauma still and she doesn't want to bring that to him into their relationship, you still get just like you get a little bit of that fun lightheartedness at the top, at least, in their relationship, because she doesn't have that with Chris anymore, even though she is trying so much to bring that back. And all of those little parts of her and her strength and her resilience, I think I've said before, but that's truly what it is for me. Her resilience is something I admire about her so much. And I don't think I hate anything about her, because I do see so much of myself in her that I think to hate specific things about her would be unfair. You know, I hate that this is a situation that she's had to deal with. But so do so many of us. And I think that I would rather hold a place of like love and sympathy for her and everyone else who's been in situations like that, rather than color that with hatred about certain things. So I just love her. I just want to hug her and also go to the shooting range with her.
One thing I like that it gets addressed, and I think a lot of these movies wouldn't address, is that where she says, "No, what I did is not okay." And, and you too, Greg, you're writing in that. I like how you acknowledge, like you're kind of telling people she's admitting her mistakes. He's not admitting his. Like he's a narcissist, man.
Yeah,
Like he
that's what he is.
like, and I just like that. She goes, "No, what I did was not okay, but you weren't there for me." And I just like that. Yes, I think, and I think that's why the big reason we can connect with her. And you know, she shows the vulnerability. Shelby shows that, but also admits to her mistakes. But here's kind of why. And I think a lot of people have been in those situations.
Yeah, I
So
think so too. Yeah. It's a common situation, like, and it's just like, and it's like Shelby said, it's so gray, and all these people that go, why didn't you leave? It's not that simple. There could be a million reasons, but it's never that simple. I find that fascinating. And
yeah, what was the dynamic like with your co-stars?
I know that Ryan Rodrigo were on set together, but I was never on set with both of them
Okay.
at the same time. I mean, but Rodrigo, we connected instantly in the car ride on our way to London. He's just the type of person that immediately when you meet him, you feel like you've been best friends forever. He's just so energetic and compassionate and genuinely interested in what you have to say and in learning about you, which is, you know, not the case for a lot of people. And I can be outgoing with people that I'm comfortable with, but I also can be on the shyer side. And, you know, I would be the person who would just sit quietly in the car, and he's like asking me questions and wants to get to know me. So we had a lot of time together before we even got to set. And so being on set with him just felt so comfortable. One of the first things that we shot together, not the first thing, but one of the earlier things that we shot together was the bedroom apartment scene. And I was really nervous going into that. And it was my first time shooting an intimacy scene. And Rodrigo just made it feel so easy. I felt so comfortable. I didn't remotely feel, because you never know, and you don't want the other person to feel uncomfortable, and you just don't really know what you're gonna get. And he made it so easy, and was also so committed that it made it easy for me not to feel awkward or uncomfortable as well, because he's so professional but so welcoming. So on set with him, we were just chit-chatting all day. It was lovely. Rye joined us a little later, so it was interesting because some of the scenes that I have with Rye, I didn't have with Rye until a little later on. And because there's so much like contention in the characters and we're shooting things at different times, Rye and I didn't get as much time as Rodrigo and I had to spend together kind of before jumping into these really intense scenes. But Rye, even though he's, you know, Johnny in, you know, Violent Nature, and
I just saw him in that.
Yeah.
It was like, wait a minute. I just
big and
reviewed
scary,
Cheat.
killer.
Well, you
go,
didn't
"That's-
actually see him.
But no. But I go, yeah, he's got an intimidating presence.
Yeah.
Yes,
He's got a
he's
physical
also
presence.
such a sweetie. Like he's
Yeah.
maybe he wouldn't want me to say that. But he's also just genuinely like so concerned about making sure every time that because we had a lot of like physical kind of stunt and fight work to do as well. Very concerned about making sure that I was comfortable and good every take that we shot. Like he was really concerned to make sure that I was always okay, that we were good. So working with Rye as well, even though it was in a very like different dynamic than Rodrigo, was just as lovely, just in different ways.
Yeah, he's
Rise a
definitely has
workhorse.
yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I guess you've. I haven't seen your other films, Greg.
He's
But
been in this is the third one he's been in. I told him
nice.
this is it. I cut him off.
He had just been in like 2 or 3 other.
Yeah, he
shoots,
came
like,
from
back to
one.
back and came right to ours. So he must have been.
He was exhausted. He was
Yeah.
running there. I talked to him after the fact, and he goes like, "There's days I don't even remember." But that's how professional he is. Like I say to everybody, 80% Rye is better than 110% of anybody else. Like that he's a consummate professional. You know, he's like Shelby. He's another one that can just, you know, the camera loves him. He can say so much without saying a word on his face.
And he can turn it on and off too. He's not and no one that we worked with was the type of actor that's like, okay, well, if we are in a fight, then we're going to be in fight mode all the time. Like the second that the shoot was done, it was like, okay, how's it going? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
The first time he said that bitch line, I literally laughed out loud, and then we just giggled for the next 3 takes.
You could feel that in this movie, that there was a lot of trust going on with the co-stars, like with Rye and you, Shelby. So yeah, this is cool stuff. For both of you, what experience have you gained from this project? Shelby, I know that, you know, we've talked before with, you take with each project, It's Me, Billy, you went to something else. And you were in a Peter Pan play, weren't you?
Yes.
Out here in Oshawa, I think it was.
In Toronto.
Was it Toronto?
Yes, but it was it's at a museum, and we're at the same location. We're doing a Halloween Edgar Allan Poe immersive experience there too. You should come. It's not that far for you, Jason.
I wanted to come see it, but it was the family life and all that. But
of course.
Yeah. Do you think you could have played this character, let's say around when you did It's Me, Billy, or do you think you've learned so much since then?
I would love to say like yes, because at that time in my career, I would have been so excited to land a role like this. Having said that, I think the benefit of being on smaller productions that do put in effort, similar to this one, but smaller even, and more short films, is that you do get a lot of the on-set experience of even just understanding like the dynamics of set work, and not anything to do with acting, but just kind of how the days go, how different people run their sets, working with different directors. And also, I genuinely think, I say this every time, but you learn so much every time you're on set. And as an actor, I feel like I learn so much from working with other people, and learning from the things that they're doing and the things that they pull out of me, and different techniques or things that I have been able to develop for each role. So I think that, had I done this around the time when we shot It's Me, Billy, because that was in like 2020, I think. So, you know, it's only 2 years of difference, but my approach and my methods and what I would have brought to the table probably wouldn't have been quite as, I hope that I still would have been able to, you know, bring something interesting. But I don't know that it would have been what we see today. Just as I hope that, you know, on the next project, if I were to have that when we shot like, you know, you always hope that you're growing as an actor. So ultimately, I think the answer is no, the performance would not look remotely the same. Just as for the next one, I hope it looks even more, like I hope I can kind of connect and learn even more as I go on to the next one, as I did from here.
Nice, nice. And what about you, Greg? What have you gained from this that you'll take, or at least with each project that you'll go further with?
Every project you learn something new,
Mhm.
especially what not to do, or how to do it differently. I got the greatest crew in the world. Like it's core, like I said, 6 to 10 people, depending on the day. And we all have a shorthand. So it just gets easier and easier. So I can, focus more just on the directing, which is great. We don't even have to say anything to each other all day if we don't want to. We want to, but we don't. Like it's just everybody. I say what we're going to be shooting next, and everybody just does their thing. Gary, my DOP, he knows how I like things, so he roughs it in before I even say a word. So we can move really, really, really fast. And it's just I just want to get better at storytelling. That's kind of it in a nutshell. Like just find different ways to tell interesting stories. Like you never stop learning. If you stop learning, you get out of the business. Like it's
Yeah,
all learning in my books, whether you're an actor, whether you're a director, whether you're a DOP. The more you do it, the better, hopefully the better you're going to be. So
yeah, excellent. Okay, last question. We'll wrap up. Is upcoming projects, or at least anything you can say. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna. You guys don't have to say anything if you don't want to. But Shelby,
yeah.
you got anything coming up you can talk about?
The most immediate thing I have on the go is a play that I have on the. So it's at the same venue that you were talking about before. It's
Okay.
at Campbell House Museum, for Toronto people. It's a site-specific immersive experience, Edgar Allan Poe themed. It's running through Halloween. But other than that, I have a few projects coming up in the spring, hopefully, and. In between now and then, I'm always auditioning. I'm always open to new things. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Like you got to watch this movie just for Shelby. Like if nothing
Yep.
else, like she knocks this thing out of the park. Any other, like everything she's in, it's mind blowing. Which will bring me to like I was so impressed by Shelby. Partway through the shooting of Cheat, I handed her a script for the next one, which is Jane. So
You should have started with this question.
yeah, like we weren't even done shooting, and I go, "Don't read this now, but read it when we're done." And it's just like that's how impressed I was with her. Like and I got to give
I
her the
had
same 3 Rye shot as Rye. So
yeah, yeah.
you know,
I well, I first interviewed Shelby like during after It's Me, Billy. I think came out
Mm,
3 years ago, and I said,
yeah.
You impressed me so much," and it was a small role for her, and I just, I told her at that time anyway. I said, "You remind me of a Florence Pugh, where you could just put you in anything. You like it doesn't matter what the role was." Um,
I think she's
um,
better than Florence Pugh, but that's just me.
Oh,
So
that's a
I
hot
don't.
take. Thank you.
I'd like to see Shelby play a little bit of a vicious character.
yeah,
A little bit.
it's
That'd
coming.
be a fun.
It's coming.
Have to wait and see, I guess.
Yeah.
Yes, it's coming.
No, but thank you guys for giving me your time. I really, really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, for sure. Everyone go, rent, buy this movie. It is definitely worth it. It was a really great movie that I love movies where I can actually talk about them and dive really freaking into the layers of it. So I really appreciate you making writing first, story and character first, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, guys, if there's anything else you would like to say, we can wrap this up.
Thank you for everyone who's already watched it. And if you
Yes, thank
haven't,
you.
I hope you do. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to see people see it because it's just so many genres.
Yep.
It kind of starts off as a romance, then turns into a drama, then goes into a horror, and then kind of turns into an actiony sort of thing at the end. Like it's
You just call me a
it's
whore.
kind of 4 acts, not 3. The traditional 3. It's like 4 acts.
Yeah, I call them genre splicers, and I love them. I love where you can just mix several genres together, but make it flow. Sometimes they don't flow too well. They don't mesh too well. But your directing style, it was just meshed all well together.
Thank you.
So yeah. So thank you guys for
Thanks.
coming. Thank you guys, the audience, for watching. I know I've first interview in over 2 years, so we'll
Honored.
do more of these. Well, so yeah, we'll definitely do some more of these in the future to my audience. And yeah, I'm gonna say good night. Take care, everyone. My name is Jason. You're watching Backtrack Cinema. I'll see you next time, and I'll see you guys in the movies. Cheers.
Thanks.